Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. 9 players who helped their cause in Steelers preseason game versus Bills. The Pittsburgh Steelers can't seem to find their footing in the preseason. Following a sluggish preseason opener against the Houston Texans, Mike Tomlin's team fell flat against the Buffalo Bills in their second straight home exhibition contest. Not all news is bad. While the quarterbacks and offensive line struggled throughout the Steelers' second preseason game, there were numerous players who helped their cause with notable performances against the Bills. Here are 9 players who did the most to aid their standing with the team in preseason week 2. Fans asked for a big performance from Dez Fitzpatrick, and they got one. Just when it seemed like Fitzpatrick was going to be an afterthought at the wide receiver position in Pittsburgh, the 4th-round pick of the Titans in 2021 balled out. Fitzpatrick caught both of his targets for a team-high 32 yards. This included a sideline toe-tap catch late in the game off a tipped pass. Fitzpatrick's size, well-rounded play, and ability on special teams coverage units could earn him a spot on the final roster with one more performance like this. Miles Killebrew earned an interception early in the Steelers' preseason game against the Bills. That was apparently all Mike Tomlin needed to see. The Pro Bowl special teams player exited the contest after just 6 plays on defense, and his takeaway in this game was attributed to his short night. Corey Trice has made steady improvements from the start of training camp until now. Despite the love he receives from fans, we might not be talking about him enough. Trice allowed just 1 reception for a mere 6 yards in the Steelers' preseason contest against the Bills. Over the past 2 weeks, Trice has played 47 defensive snaps while surrendering just 2 receptions for 4 yards. The catch he allowed against the Texans went for a loss of 2 yards. The toolsy cornerback is doing everything fans were hoping to see from him, and his spot on the team feels very secure at this point. Though the race for the 4th edge rusher spot was close throughout training camp, Kieran Johnson is suddenly running away from Jeremiah Moon for the job. Johnson played early in the Bills game with Nick Herbig, and the two were able to generate pressure often on QB Mitch Trubisky. Johnson's explosive get-off has caught the attention of the Steelers. As Quez Watkins continues to squander his opportunities, Scotty Miller has taken advantage. The veteran receiver caught all 3 passes thrown his way against the Bills, albeit for just 18 yards. Miller seems to be gaining the trust of his quarterbacks. It appears he has passed Watkins on the depth chart, but it's going to be a tight race between him and Dez Fitzpatrick for the final wide receiver spot. Partially by default, Dan Moore Jr. is becoming increasingly more valuable to the Steelers. Who would have thought this would have been the case after Pittsburgh spent their 1st-round pick on offensive tackles in back-to-back off-seasons? With Troy Fautanu injured and Broderick Jones struggling mightily, the Steelers wouldn't dream of sending Moore packing. In fact, the veteran OT could get the nod to start at left tackle to begin the season. Steelers get good news on starting cornerback after injury scare. Pittsburgh Steelers starting slot cornerback Beanie Bishop, who missed Saturday's game against the Buffalo Bills, will play against the Detroit Lions, he said on Wednesday. "Yeah, I'm feeling great. It's been a day-by-day thing. I'm feeling great now, actually," Bishop said following practice. In his place, Thomas Graham started instead, but Bishop viewed missing the game against the Bills as a missed opportunity to lock up his roster spot once and for all. He has always been doubted, having been just a 2-star recruit coming out of high school. Bishop started his career in Minnesota but transferred to Western Kentucky, where he became one of the best small school defensive backs in the nation. For his final year, he moved to West Virginia, where Bishop made his mark as a ballhawk who could play all over the field. Yet, his early football career sticks with him. "I feel like I always got something to prove every time I go out there, even if it's practice or a game, playing with a chip on my shoulder, because a lot of people say I shouldn't be here," Bishop said. "So, I just go out there and try to prove that I belong here." Bishop's expectation is that after taking a week of just mental reps, he, as a competitor, will return and prove himself against the Lions. The team has been cautious with him so that a minor injury would not become a long-term issue. So, at practice, he has been limited, but he confirmed that he returned in a limited capacity on Wednesday. "I'm working my way back in, taking it day by day," Bishop said. "Like I said, not really trying to aggravate what's going on and things like that." The Steelers will use Bishop and Graham most in the slot, even if Bishop is limited in some areas. Whoever wins that slot cornerback battle will be guaranteed a roster spot, while the other will have to thrive on special teams to secure their spot. Steelers trade for 49ers WR Brandon Aiyuk still remains in play, insider. Wednesday, August 21st, began with an encouraging opinion on the possibility of a Brandon Aiyuk trade to the Pittsburgh Steelers as Pittsburgh Post-Gazette beat reporter Ray Fittipaldo told 93.7 The Fan's morning show that he's still not closing the door on an eventual deal with the San Francisco 49ers. Later that evening, the NFL Network insiders provided a lengthy update of their own, breaking down the latest on the entire situation once again. "Since we told you the 49ers made their last extension offer, gosh, it was over a week ago," he began. "The numbers haven't moved. So, yeah, they are close and they're within striking distance, and it could happen at every moment, but it hasn't happened. And they're right by the goal line and they're kind of staring at each other across the goal line and there's been no movement, but we're following up. Brandon Aiyuk seems like he is 10 toes down, as they like to say on these things, not moving, and feels like he's got a bottom line that he's waiting for the 49ers to meet," Garafolo went on. "And if they're not willing to meet it, he will continue to push for the trade to Pittsburgh." The insider also reiterated once again that the Steelers' trade negotiations are done. All they are waiting on is the resolution of contract talks between the 49ers and Aiyuk. After Garafolo relayed that long update on Aiyuk, the Niners and Pittsburgh, his colleague and fellow NFL Network insider Tom Pelissero chimed in with an interesting point. "I would say this too," Pelissero responded, referring to the Steelers as bystanders until the 49ers finalize their decision. "The closer we get to the start of the regular season and knowing that Brandon Aiyuk has not been practicing this entire time, there does come a point in which the value of the trade on which they have agreed to, at least a framework as Ian Rappaport reported a week or so ago, that would potentially change. In other words, if the player's not ready to play or not have a full-time role in the early portion of the season, that impacts the compensation," he concluded, hinting that it would lessen what Pittsburgh has to give up. So, a lot of moving parts, and some very important days ahead here. Circling back to Fittipaldo's August 21st spot on 93.7 The Fan's morning show, the Steelers beat reporter was complimentary of Pittsburgh general manager Omar Khan for the way he's handled this long and tiresome negotiation. "Omar Khan has really played this well, he's been patient," Fittipaldo voiced. "If the trade happens, I think he deserves a lot of kudos, but obviously it's been a tenuous situation for 4 months now." The veteran media member also expressed that he still thinks there's a decent chance that Aiyuk lands in Pittsburgh. "The Steelers are the only team left standing," he noted. Adding, "We've heard for a week now that the 49ers and Aiyuk were close. If it was close, in my mind, it would have been done by now." A potential deadline for an Aiyuk trade could be Friday, August 23rd, being that the 49ers and Steelers each play out their final preseason games on Friday and Saturday, respectively. And you, fan? What do you think of the situation of Brandon Aiyuk? Leave your opinion in the comments.